everyone. I hope you're having a good evening. It is Tracy coming to you live from Golden Dog Adventure Company headquarters. And I am here with our partner, Jake Belmont from Red Pointy Dog Training. How are you, Jake?
I'm doing good. How about you?
I am doing well, thanks. And it has been a long time since we've done a live broadcast. It seems so strange. What I kind of like about live broadcasts is we do kind of our last one in the fall, and then we start up again as we get closer to spring. So obviously that's good vibes that we're getting closer to spring, which means we're getting closer to our next Off-Leash Readiness series, which is awesome. So you may or may not be familiar, but Jake and I rolled out an Off-Leash Readiness series in November. And surprisingly, considering it took people into the winter and through December, we had a really good turnout. Yeah. So we're very excited to be coming into the warmer weather. I'm excited. Tomorrow's going to be 50 degrees. The snow's going to melt, and we're going to get, the machine running again with our next series. And we had a great first series. We learned so much. Jake ran an amazing program. We got great feedback from the attendees. So we wanted to come to you live again tonight to talk to you a little bit about what we learned from that and what we will be rolling out starting on April 11th. But before we get into that, in case you are not familiar with Jake and Red Pointy Dog Training, can you tell us a little bit about what you do, Jake, at Red Pointy?
Yeah, me and my wife Louise have been running Red Pointy Dog Training for it's coming on a decade now, Tracy. Can you believe that?
Wow, congratulations.
But yeah, we do all types of different dog training, from puppy stuff to sports to reactive and aggressive dogs, and me and Louise both have different kind of special focuses, and mine is, I've got a couple maybe, but mine tends to be being outdoors with your dog and making that more enjoyable, safer, and more reliable for everyone. So that's where the idea for this came up, right?
Well, and I hear from so many people how much they desire to have the ability to understand how to safely train their dog to be off leash. And I know not all dogs can be ready for it. It could be a genetic thing, it could be a breed thing. And that does make it tricky. But what is a little bit interesting, and we'll get into a bit more here with the session that you and I have created that I love, is that we have been able to secure 75 acres of private land where we go the fourth session, and we're able to have the dogs off leash. You're not going to have to worry about unleashed dogs. You're not going to have to worry about any other people. You might have to worry about wild animals, but it's just such a wonderful experience to have these classes at the Golden Dog Playground and then to go to this private land with Jake as kind of like the final session to just really put what we've learned, to task. So we're going to talk a little bit about that with you today so you can better understand how this runs. But Jake, can you talk a little bit, overall about, what the benefit is of being off leash and, kind of speak a little bit to those people who are like, I don't know, is my dog ready for this? How do I know? Talk to us a little bit about that.
Sure. So I think for me, the benefit of having like off-leash availability for me and my dogs is just like the experiences we've had. Red Pointy Dog Training was built, by Monzo and Piper, and my fondest memories are running through the woods with them always. So, being on leash, you can still have tons of fun and everything, but there is that, I think a lot of people have that dream and that picture in their head of, being off at the beach and not worrying that their dog isn't going to come back, or, being in the woods. There are a little bit less options for off-leash areas right now, but part of that is because of lack of education. And I think, having that option and knowing that your dog's safe, and even just like going through the training, if you're not a big hiker, and knowing that, hey, if something happens, I trust my dog to come back. I was just talking to somebody the other day whose dog's leash broke, and they weren't planning on an off-leash encounter, but they did, and their dog came back. So pretty cool. But yeah, I think that's why I really like the off-leash option. Right now, my two dogs, Reckless is very close, and he's been off-leash a couple times, but he's still very young and very impulsive. But yeah, and the question of like, how do I know when my dog's ready? I've kind of designed this class. Anybody who knows me, I'm a very careful, slow mover when it comes to dogs, especially my dogs. And I've kind of designed the class around like the checkpoints I've created for my own dogs, and how I learn to trust, and how I help my dogs trust me, because it goes both ways all the time. So yeah, I think one of the goals is to provide that structure so people can feel confident making that decision or not making that decision, which is just as important of a decision to make sometimes.
Yeah, I agree. And I think a lot of people don't necessarily know, like, what is it they're looking for? When do they know if their
Yeah.
dog's ready? And you've got a really good system that you've put together on assigning homework and also giving report cards and how their dog is improving, and to know for sure if you feel as a trainer comfortable that they're ready. I mean, me as an individual, I may not feel ready because there's that whole nervousness that goes down the leash, but you do a really good job of helping the dog guardians be confident and learn the skills needed so that they can feel relaxed, so that their dogs feel that confidence and want to come back and, don't want to go off and explore and have squirrel moments. And you really get into so many fun games and activities, which I think is what makes this series so different than others that I've seen. So let's talk a little bit about, I want to just let people know the time commitment if it is something you're interested in. So this is going to start on April 11, which is Saturday, and it will run on the 18th and 25th. We're going to have a 75-minute clinic, which will happen here in Barrington at the playground, which is an acre of fenced in land. And then the last session, which will happen on May 9th, will be a 90-minute session where we will go to that private land, as I mentioned, that is still in Barrington. And we do a lot of testing, and there's a lot of opportunities. And I think, in the first group, Jake, I believe almost everyone had achieved having their dogs off leash. But I think for safety purposes, you had a few people that had them on long lead and dragging it behind. Is that accurate?
Yeah, and somebody in that group just decided, I'm not ready for this,
Yeah.
and their
Yeah.
dog was dragging, and I think they were like, I can't believe that I'm even dropping the leash at all. It's terrifying. But so yeah, like a lot of it too is how comfortable are you? Again, like I think dogs can live very enriched and wonderful lives if all dragging a long line or even holding a long line. But yeah, part of my job, I think, in this class is like being realistic, helping people be realistic with the steps that need to happen to have reliability, because it's easy to, well, I guess I should say it's hard to look at your dog and be like, I don't know what I'm looking for. So yeah,
Yeah.
I think the structure of knowing that and the check-ins and everything is a big part of what we're trying to do with this class.
Well, I love that we keep the class small. We keep it to 6 people plus 4 audit spots, and that really gives you one-on-one time with Jake, both at the 3 sessions at the playground and then at the private land as well. So you really get some good quality time with him to better understand exactly, if your dog's ready, what are the signs that you're looking for, and to make you ready. So I think, from a 30,000 foot view, can we talk a little bit about what people will learn overall so they get a sense of what to expect?
Yeah, so we'll spend a lot of time on recall, of course, and figuring out the different ways to motivate our dogs. Recall fails for multiple reasons, and troubleshooting the most common, and maybe some of the less common too, and helping to desensitize your dog to the world around them, decreasing frustration, finding ways. We do a lot of games, like you said, finding ways to make training fun for everyone, to motivate the dog and the human. Because I know, like, I've got dogs who need a lot of training right now, and I know if I don't keep it fun, then I fall behind a little bit. But yeah, we'll definitely be doing a lot of that stuff. Some skills to help safety with the long line, because I know some people are afraid of the long line for a good reason at times, but learning the best ways to handle that, creating like a radius so your dog, you have to rely on your recall less because your dog has a natural distance that they learn. Okay, this is an acceptable distance away from me to be, and so we have to use our recall a little bit less so it doesn't get annoying to our dogs and all that stuff, which it easily can. And different like trail etiquette and how to deal with certain situations that arise, and just learning more about maybe dog body language and helping them navigate stressful situations, distracting situations, exciting situations, a little bit more successfully.
Yeah, makes sense. Well, and I know we've got it broken down into 4 key like frameworks. So sessions 1 through 3 are the foundational training at the Golden Dog Playground, as I mentioned. And then session 4 is the off-leash field trip. And I know, we have the 75 minutes at those 3 sessions and the 90 minutes, but there's quite a bit that goes on in between. Hence the reason that they're, a week or 3 weeks apart, because you are doing follow-up information, you're sending out homework, you're giving people things to do and work on with their dogs in between to really make the learning stick, to really solidify, what the repetition, obviously very, very important. Can you talk a little bit about that support that happens in between so people can get a sense?
Yeah. So I always will design homework for everyone. And again, program based on what I do with this is what I do with my dogs. So, I believe in it. The homework will have step-by-step guides for everything that we go over and videos. So whether you learn by reading or whether you learn by watching, we got you covered. And we designed some report cards to kind of like visualize what progress looks like. And the milestones we're reaching for to see, okay, are we ready for the next step? All those things. We also do recommended tools that we like to use, and again, little games that you can play, different hunting games to make the walk more fun and recall more effective. All those things. And I'll be available to ask questions. You don't have to wait till next class. I'll do my best to answer as fast as I can, and all that stuff. Whether you want to send me a video and be like, I don't know if I'm doing this right, or what do you think this means, I'm happy to go over things like that too. So yeah, you'll be getting very specific homework, and you'll have the access to ask any questions that you have. And usually if somebody asks a question midweek, I'll bring it to class, and everybody else will be like, oh yeah, I was wondering that too, or oh, I didn't even think about asking that, but that makes sense. So
I love how accessible you are in between the sessions. You're just so giving of your time. And that's something, we didn't really talk about in the beginning, kind of that support that would happen in between, but you were always like, oh, just have them reach out to me. Or if they have a question, just have them reach out, whereas a lot of trainers might be, okay, we've got our 75-minute session here, we've got our 75-minute session there, but you're just so accessible in between. And I think that's just a huge benefit to people.
Yeah, I think it's, I've had it too many times where people are like, well, I wasn't sure if I was doing it right, so I just didn't do it. Like, you're not allowed to have that excuse.
Right.
So yeah, I try to make myself very available. And that's also why we have the longer classes for this. So people can ask questions and forget their questions, but still have time to remember them later, and
Exactly.
all that stuff. So, chunks of the class are going to be discussion and problem solving and troubleshooting, because every dog has different challenges. We might have a Labrador who, maybe they don't care all that much about deer, but if there's a person to go say hi to, then that's we're going to have trouble with that, or whatever it might be. Terrier
Right.
who doesn't care at all about people, but if there's a squirrel, we're in trouble.
Yep.
So yeah, that's why the classes are a little bit longer, to cover everything that might come up.
Yeah, that makes sense. Well, and for someone who's wondering, I really don't know if this is for my dog. How do I know if my dog's ready? How do I know if I'm ready? Are there any tips that you can give there so that someone can say, oh, okay, yeah, this makes sense for me to do this, or no, this isn't, I'm not quite ready for this yet. Maybe I want to think about the audit spot, and then tell us a little bit about what that commitment is.
Sure. Yeah. I see this as like a more advanced class. So this shouldn't be your dog's first foray into training. They'll learn something, but it'll be a little over their head. Probably you might feel a little overwhelmed. So, this is for dogs who have some skills already, dogs who not necessarily need to have taken classes, but been in environments with other dogs and been able to be successful. They don't have to be like perfect or anything like that, but, some ability and history of learning in distracting areas. Dogs, we will be asking a lot, so they don't have to be in great shape, but we're going for a decent hike at the end of all of this. It's pretty flat. It's not
It is.
killed or anything, so it's nothing serious, but they have to be able to keep up a little bit. And we will be off leash. A lot of dogs will be off leash. Mistakes can be made, so if we do everything we can to avoid that. But if you have a dog who would not be okay with, dog to dog interactions, maybe the auditing spot is better for you. So when I thought of the auditing spots, I thought of people who have maybe private land that they hike their dog on all the time, or really quiet spaces that they go to. But they have a really sensitive dog, but one that loves to be out and about, and they want to achieve a little bit more freedom. So maybe being in a classroom with 5 other dogs would be too overwhelming, but they have a spot at home that this type of learning could be really good for. That's kind of what the auditing spots are. Or people, shelter volunteers who want to learn more, or anything like that, whatever.
Yeah, and what's nice is they can come and they can observe and learn, and then they can still take the learning back and practice, and still have that access to in between, right? Yep. And the videos and things like that. Exactly.
So yeah, all they won't be able to have is the time at class to practice and drill and get advice there and everything.
Yep, exactly. Yeah. And of course, I would be remiss if I didn't talk about the party that happens at the end of the last session. Was a lot of fun. We have our own little graduation ceremony with pup cups.
Yeah.
So, we take a class picture. So that's very exciting. What I love about the land too is we have, there's some really scrumptious smelling opportunities and viewing opportunities for dogs, because there's quite a few barn animals on the land that we get to see when we head out and then when we get back. So that's always fun too. Yeah.
I think the dogs enjoyed that part.
Yes, they did.
And the land, it's a beautiful trail. I was very impressed.
And even in the winter, I mean, it's going to be even nicer now in the coming in the late spring here.
Yeah, we practically needed snowshoes when we did it last time.
I know. So I'll be excited to see the flowers blooming and the trees blooming. That'll be really nice. So
a beautiful time to be outside for sure. Yeah. And I do really like the progression, because we start off, the Golden Dog Playground is such a big area. We can keep spots new, so we introduce things in this area and then spread out, and they can right there they get to practice in different environments, basically out in the woods, because it's a big jump to do all your training in a classroom and then head outside. So starting the training in the field and then heading into the wooded section of the yard, and then the other wooded section of the yard where there's new smells, and then going onto the trail. I think that's one of the big benefits that, I don't have the opportunity to provide people all the time with. So it's pretty, I think that's one of the most special parts about this whole program, is that ability to make small controlled steps toward the ultimate goal of, being on trail, being off leash and everything, instead of that huge step from classroom to trail time.
Yep, I agree. And so if you think this is something you might be interested in, you can secure your spot for $100 deposit. Then the remaining balance, I believe it's due Yeah, it's due like 1 week before the start date. So you could grab. We have 5 spots left. We do have one that has been taken so far, and we do have all 4 audit spots left. So you could grab that with the $100. There is a discount for Golden Dog members, and then obviously there is a discount too if you're doing the auditing spot versus bringing your dog as well. So I'm really looking forward to it, and I'm really hoping most of the snow will be gone and we won't have too much mud. But regardless, we will definitely have nicer weather, and it will be a great learning opportunity. We had really good feedback from the first program because it was the first time Jake and I had done it together. We've done a little bit different versions, training reinforcement on our end, and then obviously Jake, being a professional dog trainer, has done programs on his end and with different organizations. But we thought we'd bring it together and put a little both of our spins on it so that we could put together what we think is a really good, fun program. And so we're excited to roll out this second one as well. And if you guys have any questions here while we're finishing up, if you have any questions for Jake, let us know. Feel free to chat them in the comment section. Any last things or any last words of wisdom you would offer people as they're considering whether this is for them or not?
Just like feel free to reach out and ask if you have specific questions. You're not sure if this is good for you. I'm happy to chat about, steer people in the right direction. I'm not going to lie and say, oh yeah, of course it's great for you. Like if I don't think your dog is going to be successful and I want to help you figure out how to be successful, that's always my goal.
Yeah, because if they don't have a positive experience, then it's going to leave a bad taste in their mouth, and we want to set you up for success. We don't want you or your dog to experience failure because you potentially could be set back, and that's not what we want for you. So
yeah, definitely. Yeah.
But Jake might say, hey, audit this time, learn, and then you might be ready for the next class if that's something that you might consider. That is an option as well. So
yeah, because we hope to be running this for a while, right?
Yeah, well, based on the feedback and the attendance from the last one, I would say, yeah, this is going to be a great resource for people. And, every May we do a member off-leash social at the beach before it opens up for tourist season. So that's always another great place to try it. And through Golden Dog, we have secured a few more relationships with private landowners where we do off-leash and on-leash events for members only, just because members go through a certain training through our system of understanding the etiquette and the safety and inclusivity and welcoming environment we create. So we don't do that for the general public. We do that only for members. So you do get some other training reinforcement opportunities throughout the year if you were to do this class where you can practice those different skills that you've learned through this session.
Yeah, perfect primer.
Exactly. Yep. And we're, just over 30 days away. It'll go by fast. So like I said, if you want one of those 5 spots that are left, just head on over to goldendognh.com and click on adventures. Well, good. Well, thanks for joining me here tonight, Jake. I appreciate it. Looking forward to the next session and helping some other people feel a little bit more comfortable with their dogs off leash.
Yeah. Thank you for having me, and thanks for letting me chat about this stuff. This is what
Absolutely. And stay tuned, too, because Jake and I've got another program coming up the day before Easter, a fun nosework activity. I'm not going to tell you about it tonight. I'm just going to tease it, but we will get you information on that as well.
Yeah, excited for that, too.
Absolutely. All right, awesome, Jake. Well, thanks again for joining me, and have a great night.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye.